Hey, you guys, welcome to the Happy Podcast. I'm your host, CC, and today we're gonna be here with three staff members of the Happy Place for our first podcast. So bear with us with this experimental phase. As I said, there are three people here in this call. Myself, of course, EpicNikolai,
Hello.
and Quote.
Hello.
So yeah, the three of us kind of the European call, even though Quote isn't really European, but
I am. I'm a Canadian that's living in Asia, so I'm neither of those things.
Yeah, it's extremely European. So we're gonna divide it into three sections, kind of a introduction, section, the Q&A section, and kind of rounding it up. So without further ado, I think we can go into the first section, which is a random topic, fun statement, or whatever. We're just gonna talk about something non-Happy Place related. In this case, well, the World Cup is going on, quite popular. What do you guys think is gonna be who is gonna win the World Cup? Really easy question.
I mean, it's a hard call, really. I mean, I would hope something like Sweden would win, but
that'd be cool.
It seems highly unlikely. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shock they lost yesterday.
Yeah.
I really thought they were going to win, but
yeah, as we speak, Sweden is playing his game, so people in post will know, like, oh, they either won or they didn't. So, but if I had to choose myself at this moment, I think either France or Belgium, probably France. Just a really powerful team.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
I'll go with that one because I know so much about football.
Yeah. So that's kind of a fun non-Happy Place related topic. Yeah. So I think we can go into the section, which is either announcements for the room or things that are going on in the room. Fun kind of question. Do you think that there will be more competitions like our Happy Place, the art-related or literature-related competition? Went quite well this time, but do you guys think there will be a future for it? So a potential other versions or another feature of it?
I honestly think that those competitions are a fantastic idea. They get everybody in the room involved in some sort of creative aspect. It's also just a really fun way to see what people are capable of doing in the room, like whether it's an art contest or a writing contest. I'm not exactly sure what kind of contests we could have in the future, but I'm honestly down for anything. Like it's just something to help get people involved and to kind of bring people out of the shadows of the room, because we do have a lot of users that sometimes are afraid to speak up when there's like a more serious conversation. So if we can sort of push the fun agenda a bit more, you really emphasize the happy of the Happy Place, then I think it could be a success.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with what Coach said. I think an important aspect of this is kind of like how you can involve all the users and use everyone's potential, creativity, and because we creative people in THP in general, and to kind of work together and be our unity together. I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I definitely think we want to focus definitely more on these events in time ahead, and we're constantly trying to think of new ways we can challenge the users and challenge ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's also fun to see just what people are capable of. Like, a certain user from the chat, hidden talent or something. It's fun to bring it out at times. It's fun to see what people are really capable of in the room.
Yeah, I think it's
awesome. Yeah. The thing is, I don't know what else we can incorporate to it, like perhaps musicians or something like that, something with music, but I don't know how far that can reach. But
yeah, I remember there was a kind of music competition in the Espanol room a few years ago, and so I think we could do something similar, but but we'll just have to try and experiment. I think that's big part of it, really.
Yeah.
Trying to experiment, and if it doesn't work, well, at least we tried. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, agreed.
Another possibility is that we could also just repeat some of the ideas we've used before. Like we could actually just make some of those contests like annual contests if we wanted to. Like we could do an art contest, say every June or something like that, or do a writing contest every August, or even do it twice a year if we wanted to. I know, like, not to necessarily take ideas from other rooms, but I know, like, I think it was the Cosmo room, Cosmopolitan. I believe they would repeat some of theirs. Like, they would have, like, a photo contest every few months or something like that. Yeah, and that's something that we could do as well. Like, just take the most popular ideas we have and then just do them more. Because if people like it, you know, why not give them more of what they want? So.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's fun. Another thing that we hosted in the not so far past was the movie night thing. Was that gonna happen?
Well, we haven't discussed it yet, have we? I mean, I think it has been a success as far as I know. I haven't been in there myself yet, so
yeah.
But I mean,
I'd say it went pretty well as well.
Yeah, from what I've heard, they're pretty good. I haven't been able to join any of them because of the awkward time zone, but they people seem to like them. So, you know, just like I said with the art contests, if people like them and there don't seem to be any issues, you know, why not have more?
Yeah, agreed. So those are kind of. I don't think we have further announcements that are going on in the room. Mm-hmm. So we can move on to the Q&A section.
I love these.
Yeah. So I've filtered every the good questions, or I think they're capable in the time frame. So if your question isn't in here, it's either due to time limitations or that other questions also answer it, or these are the questions that we are able to answer. So yeah, I'll just bring up the question, and in this case, there aren't user-specific questions, so that's easy. So without further ado, yeah, we can just hop in it. So the first question, where did the idea of the happy place come from?
Damn, I'm actually not too sure of that. Mostly for me, like, I think a lot of my involvement for the happy place has been like the past year or so. So I'm not actually too well versed on the history of the room. I believe it was just created as like a sort of safe space for the room. I feel like I should know more about this than I do, but
I think it was kind of more some people from the lobby culture that created their own room, a little bit more of a safe and small environment of their friend group, and it kind of went on and evolved from that. But I think the users in question were Sigilith and Saburo or something.
I think it was Frozen Grace.
Oh yeah,
that kind of created the whole room idea or something. I'm not quite sure on this. I joined actually around that era, but I kind of just stayed on Alts. You know, I wasn't really into it like I am now. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think it was Frozen Grace and Nahid and those kind of guys were really prominent back then. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great room though. I do love it. I love that it's around.
Yeah,
draws in an interesting crowd of people. I can say that at least.
Yeah. Okay, so the next question kind of ties into it. Why did you join the Happy Place?
Okay, well, in my experience, I like a lot of things on Pokemon Showdown. You know, I obviously like Pokemon, but, you know, I like a lot of other things too. And every now and then I'll have this habit of just poking around from room to room just to see what it's about, the kind of people that are there. And also sometimes my mod instincts sort of kick in, and I like to help people out or add to conversations. So I hopped into the Happy Place a few times because I was asked to help out. And after seeing what the room was like, I was just like, It's not bad. There seem to be a lot of younger people, but also a lot of older people, which is really interesting. And I like that. I'm 25 years old, so I do like to chat to people of my own age. It gets kind of tiresome when you just talk to 13, 16-year-olds all the time. But when I get to sit down with other users that are in their like mid to late 20s, it's actually really relaxing. And THP has quite a few of those, so I enjoy talking to them. That's pretty much it for me. I like the room. I like the people.
I mean, that's great. I mean, for me, I think I just joined the room really because I just wanted to talk out my feelings really, or like how my day was, or like all those simple things that I think a lot of users come to THP for. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a great place to just vent out or just hang out with people and talk about whatever you want, if it's video games or how your school day was or whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I mean, I think that it's just a simple, innocent reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, myself was more of I wasn't feeling too great, a bit of a moment, and I just needed other people to talk to and kind of look at possibilities, what I could do. And I kind of stranded in a happy place because of a friend of mine, and Andy, that is. And he said, like, yeah, you could join the happy place and perhaps people can help out. And it really worked, and I felt just a lot better after it. And I just ended up settling in the room because just the great people here and the great atmosphere. So I'm glad I found the room, actually.
Cool.
So, next question. Is there any advice you'd give to people that are going through a rough time?
I really like this question because I tend to do one of two things in the room when someone really wants advice. I will obviously give them serious advice that comes from my own personal experiences, but I'll also say something really silly and out there. Not because I'm trying to throw them off or because I'm trying to be a jerk, but it's usually something like positive silly that, the person might get a chuckle from, or maybe they'll even do and be like, hey, that helped. So it really depends on the rough time. Like, if they're having family issues, then I just tell them to stay strong. Like, yeah. Sometimes you can have family members that just aren't great people. Like, they might be okay parents or siblings, but they're just not nice people. And so all I can really say to that is to just stay strong and, keep up your efforts in whatever it is you do in life. Like, if you're 16, 17 years old and you're just, pushing through high school, and just keep going through it. Like, study hard, keep your grades up, and then before you know it, your life is going to change and you're going to be in a much better position. Whatever sinkhole you happen to be in, you won't be stuck in there forever. It's always possible to dig yourself out. You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to put in the effort. Or you can just eat strawberries. That's what I like to do when I'm having a rough time. I just like to eat strawberries, and I feel great. How about you, Nico? What's your advice?
Well, I think that it's important to it's important to stay strong, really, and believe that there is something good to come out of everything. Like, even if you have a lot of bad experiences in life or going through rough times, at the end of the tunnel there are hope. And it kind of starts with a whole mindset thing. I think if you always constantly think negative and everything's going bad, and then you're not going where you want. If you start to think more positive and look at opportunities, I think you have a much bigger chance of kind of going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right on. Well said.
Yeah. The thing that I just, it's always situational, right? You don't know the certain situation, and it could be applied in a different manner. Like, every approach is different. The thing that I really do think in every situation is that you can talk about it to people. Just if you're dealing with something and it's kind of stressing you out or something, just talk to people. Perhaps they know what you can do, or they can give advice. but know that you're never alone. You can always talk to people. There are always people that might help you in these times, and it's just an advice that I'd like to give people in rough times.
Right on, right on. Okay, so we have quite a few questions here. I'm loving this though. This is great.
Okay, so the next question, a little bit more uplifting. What do you do on a daily basis to feel happy?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I can start on this one, I guess. I mean,
Yes.
for me, like hobbies really. Like, for example, playing guitar or playing soccer, like that would make my day. People have different things that work for them, but like when I get in the zone and I just get to play whatever I want and get lost in this kind of creative box, then life is good to me. You know what I mean? So it's like that's what works for me, at least, and that's where I want to be.
I find that the key to doing something regular to make you happy is to find something that can't ever really upset you, something that has no real downside. Like some people, they play Pokemon to feel happy. And admittedly, I do that sometimes, but I also know that because of the way that the game is, it can frustrate me sometimes. So when I want to guarantee happiness, I do something that I know outside of like a crazy situation will make me happy. Like the thing I mentioned earlier, like eating strawberries or having one of your favorite foods. Like if it's well prepared, you can feel happy eating it. Also, I personally like to do puzzles. I love puzzles. And like jigsaw puzzles, I love those because I know that it's not going to upset me because I can just move the pieces around and I can start to see this puzzle grow and grow. Now, some people might get frustrated by something like that, but it doesn't frustrate me because I know that it's not impossible. It's also very relaxing. It doesn't really take much effort. So I can just I can either, play the physical version or I can play digital versions online. And it's so relaxing. I guess also just talking to friends is really helpful too. I would say I try to talk to friends every day. It can't always happen because people are busy, but talking to my friends definitely helps because I can just, if I'm really upset about something, I can just explode for a good 5-10 minutes, and then they'll be like, yeah, you know what, you're right. Life sucks sometimes, but, just have to take your own advice and just push, which is what I do. Yeah, that's some of the things that I do when I want to feel happy. Or I play RuneScape. I play lots of RuneScape too.
I think it's like there are a lot of things I like to do, like talking to people or just staying active or doing something creative. Just always I always try to keep myself active, and as long as I do that, I just stay happy. So yeah, as simple as that, I think.
Yeah, it's very simple.
So the next question. Love the environment here, but as off, how hard is it, and where do you draw the line between something that is rude or something that's sarcastic?
Ooh, okay. So this is an interesting question. I like this one. Actually, do you want to answer this first, Nico? I want to hear. I actually want to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah, sure. I mean, actually, it's kind of an interesting question because I think the whole internet thing makes it kind of hard to understand the person on the other side, what they are thinking, what they are feeling. So you have to make assumptions, and sometimes that leads to thinking that they are mad at you or whatever. So I think it's important to kind of communicate more precise what the issue is or how you are feeling, because it can get lost in the translation sometimes. And how you can kind of draw the line. I mean, I think you have to look at it in case by case, and and I find that oftentimes, like even in staff discussions or whatever, I can't always differentiate it. So I mean, I think it's a really big problem. So and it keeps coming back. So, but the more you get to learn the people you work with, or the people you are friends with, or you talk with, the more you kind of understand their way of joking. And it's a thing that takes time. You have to kind of get to know people, and that's part of the fun with it as well, that you kind of get to know people and get to know what they think, how they react to the world, and then you can develop from there as a person.
Right on. The big thing with, like you mentioned, feelings can get lost in translation and lost through the internet. I find that the biggest thing about, drawing the line between just rude behavior and sarcasm is that in the end, it's kind of a bit of both, really. Like, someone that's naturally a sarcastic person will also have, natural rude tendencies too. But the biggest thing is just experience. Like, you need to, not saying like, oh, you got to be a mod for years to know what you're doing, but it's not just about time. It's about being exposed to situations, seeing how people interact with each other on the internet as well as in real life. So when you see these situations happen over and over and over again, you start to create a formula thinking, okay, when this happens and this happens, I know that this person is being a douche. But when this and this happens, that, oh, they're just joking around, they're not being serious. And that kind of ties into how exactly we do our jobs as moderators. It essentially just comes down to being able to recognize what the situation is and how to respond. Like, overall, though, when it comes to rude and sarcastic behavior, you kind of just got to slap them for it regardless. Because if they're saying something with the intent of riling up people or just trying to be obnoxious, then you have to deal with that regardless. So sometimes the line doesn't even have to matter. You can just look at the situation as a whole and see, this is not okay. I have to deal with this now. It's that simple, honestly.
Yeah. I think. Oh,
yeah. I really agree on that. But like, I think, like, since we are authorized, then I think another thing we have to take into consideration is, you see every person, or like every user in this case, have track record or history.
Yeah.
And you have to look at that, and you kind of get this persona out of everything they have done in the past. And based on that, we can kind of think how this person is like, and if they are being sarcastic or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's something we use a lot, even consciously, really.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of times it's also experience based. Whenever I got promoted for the first time to driver, like my first driver, I made some like shitty calls at times. You learn from those experiences as well, and you learn from situations like, okay, so for example, they just walk in a room and they start shitposting or something. It's okay. That's not being sarcastic. It's just probably being shitposty. It's getting exposed to these situations and just getting the feel of them, getting the hang of it. I think that's a key factor of just seeing that line. But it's never going to be 100% easy. That's why staff isn't for everybody as well. Like, you're gonna have to evaluate every situation on its own, but base it on experience as well. So it'll never be easy, but yeah, I think that's something to take in consideration as well.
You get better at it with practice. It's definitely one of those things where, like I said, once you get exposed to more situations, it becomes a lot easier to handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me kind of when I kind of started out in THP as a driver. That was the first kind of room I got, and it kind of off in. And I remember, like, there were some insecure times there in the beginning, kind of trying to figure out, is this something to mute for, or is this something to...
Yeah.
and you get kind of used to it, and suddenly it kind of becomes second nature, and you kind of think that This is a mute, this is a warn, this is a ban, whatever.
And every staff member has their own perspectives on that too. Like, even though we have general guidelines for how we should act as staff, in the end, it comes down to what that what that staff member believes they should do. Like some things that I would warn for, someone else might mute or even ban for example. Yeah. So it's, there's a lot that goes into every decision made by a staff member in a chat room. But I've been modding different chats and websites for years now, so I see these situations come by all the time, and it does get easier. It really does.
Yeah. Okay, so next question. Ooh, that's not a good one. Do you ever get burned out with dealing with the chat? And which at times seems demanding. If so, how do you cope with that?
Oh man, chat burnout. That is actually quite a problem that I've had in THP and PS in general. But for the sake of this, I'll be THP specific. Sometimes I get burnt out when there's a really heated conversation going and just nobody wants to cooperate at all. Like you'll have someone that's very passionate. Basically, it seems like they're screaming at their keyboards. They probably are. These are probably people that are like, they're angrily typing and they're like fuming. Maybe they've like got some tears running down their face. And, if they're upset about it, that's not good because I don't want to see people upset over things in chat. But at the same time, like that kind of gets to you after a while. So sometimes you just got to take a break. Like if changing the subject just doesn't work, like people are just mad. And even after you've punished people, sometimes you just got to step away and be like, all right, guys, I'm going to go for the day. This has been a little too much for me. It doesn't happen as often as it used to for me, but like it still happens every now and then where I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to go read or watch videos or something. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I actually think this was a really good question because, sometimes a lot of people can get too emotionally attached to the chat. Yeah. And I think that's a really important to kind of learn when to distance yourself from PS or the chat in general. You know what I mean? You can try to help. It's important. Like if you like to help people, that's great, but you need to know when to affect you to are getting burnt out and you are feeling shit basically. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's something that especially in the beginning of staffing at first, you get really into it and it's your first time and you got to get used to it, and then you kind of fall in the trick, which is just or just chat burnout in general. It can be hectic. It can either be conversations or you just being there for too long or feel like you have to do everything at once, and then it's learning when to say, okay, I'm just gonna go offline, or I'm going on an alt, or I'm leaving it behind for the day and kind of shake it off for now. It's hard to that exact moment that you kind of have to let go. But it's as well, the longer you staff, the more you kind of feel like, okay, gotta quit before I get burned out, because staff burnout is not a good thing.
Yeah. You do have to remember, like, ultimately, in the end, it's a Pokemon simulator with a chat.
Yeah.
So, like, you do have to remember if your emotions are getting too riled up, regardless of whether you're a staff member or not, you still have to remember that this is a Pokemon website. If you feel that you're getting too emotional about it, then you really should step away for a little while, because it is just Pokemon. Yeah. There are other things. Now, it's not to say that you should completely disregard this site and not care about it at all because, this doesn't impact my life at all. But, give people the respect they deserve, because there is someone on the other side of the screen. But at the same time, you have to be able to acknowledge when it's getting to you. Because once it gets to you, that's when you really need to take a step back. Yeah, just remember that. Just remember that in the end, this is a Pokemon website. So try not to let it completely consume you. Know when to, go do something else.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So the next question. What do you think is the reason for people thinking that staff or auth aren't human?
I mean, I think it comes with the whole kind of when people have been muted and get all these kind of punishments, and people are kind of rebelling against it sometimes, like, why did you mute this guy? Or that was unfair, they shouldn't have been. And I think that sometimes think that and that we have bad intentions or whatever. At the end of the day, our goal is not to punish for our own pleasures. We are doing this for the chat to be as good as possible for our user base. And I think that's important for the user base to realize that we do this for them.
Exactly. I think this goes back a really, really long time. Like, this isn't even anything THB or Pokemon Showdown specific. People not liking moderators goes back 20 plus years. Like, even back in the 90s, people would complain about chat moderators abusing their powers. Because when it comes to, chat rooms and stuff, it's a sort of unique situation compared to the rest of life. You can kind of compare it to school when a teacher tells you to be quiet or sit down. You're like, oh, why should I have to listen to the teacher? I think the thing with mods is that mods are a lot more similar to your average person in the sense that they can come from any walk of life. They can be, they could be teachers. They could be very important people, but they can also just be random dudes like you and me that are sitting in their homes on their computers. And I think the reason why people think of us, it's kind of ironic in a way. The reason that they look at us like we're not human is because we are so human and so normal. Because of the fact that we're so similar, they actually they think, oh, why should this person be able to tell me what to do? It's kind of interesting how that works, doesn't it? Like, when, a police officer tells us not to do something or to do something, we usually listen to them because they can get us in serious trouble if we don't. And the same with teachers or managers at a job or anything like that. But because a moderator can be some, neckbeard basement dweller, and it's like, oh, why should I listen to what this dickhead is telling me? Come on. And like I said before, I've been a moderator and administrator for all sorts of websites and stuff. Humble brag, blah, blah, blah. And because of that, I've run into this situation so much of people just not treating me like I'm a person just because I happen to have commands to make people be quiet. There are also a lot of people that just don't like authority. They don't like being told what to do. They like to live their own lives without anyone getting in their way. But those are also the same kind of people that don't understand that when you're in a public setting, you kind of have to go with the norm. You can't decide, this is where I'm going to be a rebel. This is where I'm going to do my thing. If you want to do that in the privacy of your own home, that's fine. Be a rebel in your own home. But don't act like that in public and think that it's acceptable, because it's not. And some people just don't get that. Some people just don't get that, and they think that we're just trying to be these crazy, autocratic sons of bitches that are just controlling everyone. That's not it. We're just trying to make sure that everybody in chat is having a good time. And if someone is impeding that, then we got to do something about it. It's not us being, jerks. Every now and then it is, and those staff members are dealt with appropriately. Don't think that we're immune to punishment, because we're certainly not. There's just different ways of going about punishing an auth member. That's all it is. Just have to remember, like I also said a few minutes ago, we are someone on the other end of the internet. You always have to remember that when you say something about a person. There is someone else out there that is feeling the emotions of what you say to them or how you treat them. So you just got to remember that shit, man. I'm a human being. I know I might seem robotic at times, but Jesus, I'm a human.
I think
sometimes I've heard people complain about how staff can do whatever they want, but that's absolutely not the case. We can't be trolling or doing whatever. Then we will get banned or demoted.
If only.
I've been yelled at a few times. I'm not afraid to admit it. I've had, like, as a global, I've had people complain about me. And I mean, like, actual, like, upper staff are like, yeah, you did this. You really should not have done that. And I get, like, a sort of punishment. I've never had anything too direct be done to me. That's because most of my mess ups involve me just doing some really obnoxious or stupid thing every 6 to 8 months. It's always on the dot, too. I got to make sure I mess up at least 2 or 3 times a year, or else I might look a little too good. But yeah, like we're not immune.
But I think it's also like everybody joins the site as just a normal human being without any auth or whatever, and they see people with certain symbols in front of their names, and that they might just feel like, oh, okay, these are either just bots or people that are just here to ban me or something. And sure, just staffing is a part of being staff. You know, we're gonna have to keep this room safe. But for people, it might feel like, oh, I'm being forced to do something or to not do something by somebody else just because they have a certain symbol. I think that's a really big part of why auth feels kind of robotic at times. But we're human beings.
Yeah, we are. We are human beings. All right.
Yeah, okay. So, the next question. Who is the oldest THP staff?
That was a good one. Well, I mean, I think it is Sigilif, actually.
Yeah,
Like
I
we
think
have right
Sigilif
now.
has been here. Yeah, I think Sigilif has been in the room for the longest. But
Probably.
age-wise, I have no clue who's actually like the oldest in age.
I'm not sure that either, age-wise. If Pookie were around, that would have been the obvious answer, but...
Yeah.
Age-wise, I don't know. How old's Phil? I don't remember how old Phil is.
No clue.
Like,
I think he's
I'm...
somewhere in his 20s, but...
Like, I'm 25. I am definitely one of the older ones. I don't know if I'm the oldest, though. I'm definitely one of the oldest, but I don't know if I'm the oldest. I think Brandon and Sniper are pretty up there, too. I think.
I have no clue, actually.
I think you are the oldest.
Oh, God. Am I really? That's
a
bad.
grandpa quote.
Oh, God. Where's my cane? But yeah, the freaking Sigilif has been around for millions of years. So he's...
But something I do find pretty weird is that generally I feel like the Heavy Place has older staff than other rooms. Just I don't know if it's really the case, but I feel like it kind of is, because I feel like a lot of staff is around 20-ish.
I like that, honestly.
Pretty 20 up-ish users.
Yeah.
Okay. So, next question. How much time do you devote to Pokemon Showdown each day?
How many hours are in a day? Sometimes I think I might have to create more hours in the day just so I can mod more, because that's totally what my life is about, guys. I only mod and nothing else. No.
Oh yeah.
With Pokemon Showdown, like I'll spend a couple hours like maybe focusing on it, like if I'm having a conversation with some people. But mostly I just, with some rare exceptions like today, because I was busy doing stuff today. Busy meaning dealing with a hangover. I just kind of leave PS on for most of the time, and I'll go from chat to chat just talking to people. Sometimes I also leave it there when I'm working, just in case someone really needs to get a hold of me and they don't have me on Discord. But it's whatever. Yeah, I'd say I'd put in quite a bit of time to PS just because I like the site. It's really fun. I can play Pokemon and talk to people, and I can do that while I'm doing something else too. Like, cool. What about you guys?
Sign me up.
Exactly.
I think it's really... It depends on the day, of course. Like, some days I have a couple of hours for PS, and sometimes there's a lot of things going on, and I can't really be online. Something I do really try to do is I'm only gonna go online if I'm fully gonna be able to focus on PS. Like, if I'm doing a lot of things around the side, I'm not gonna be able to moderate or do staff shit. So I'm not gonna pretend like I'm able to do something like that. So I only go online when I'm but I like, even if I'm really busy, I'm gonna try to at least spend some time reading up on the staff conversations or something. So it's always a daily thing, but just depends on the day.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I usually coming on like a few hours every day at least, and it's usually like in the evenings I have a lot of time to just lay in my bed and just surf the internet and being on PS and whatever.
Yeah.
But like other days, I'm more busy and I don't end up having up much time otherwise than just showing up for a few minutes here and there, and like what I'm feeling from day to day is different as well. Some days I just want to chat more. Other days, I'm into modding more.
Yeah.
It depends, So we're humans.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, is it all right? It's the last question. What is your favorite room aside from the happy place?
Well, for me, it's 100% the pro wrestling room. It's my baby, honestly. If I were only able to be in one PS room like forever, then I would pick pro wrestling. Mainly because it's something that myself and a few others was Jin and Crash and crap. Was it just us three starting out? I think it was. Yeah, I think it was us. Blitz had approached me and was like, "You like pro wrestling, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I'm talking to a couple of guys that also like pro wrestling. Would you be interested in creating a pro wrestling room?" And I was like, "That's something I can do?" Like, just because, like, at that point, like, I didn't really have a lot of clout or anything like that. So I wanted a pro wrestling room for a really long time, but I didn't have a way of personally bringing it up because the system, how it worked, like, back this point, I think this was like 3 years ago or something like that, worked a lot different. If you wanted to like get your own PS room, like you had to know somebody pretty much. You couldn't just start out as like a group chat or a private room and then work your way up. Like you had to know someone. So luckily, the four of us got to talking for a while. Blitz, Jin, Crash, myself, and through Blitz we were able to talk to upper staff about it, and they made the room. And yeah, so it was originally the three of us as room owners, and then Blitz, I think, was a room mod or something like that. I think we just made him one for the sake of it. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to like dig for those logs, but since then, Jin and Crash are gone. I'm the only original room owner left. But that's all right. I still love the room because I love pro wrestling. I watch pro wrestling seriously every day. Like I try to watch something every day. I can talk about it with a lot of people. And I also try to be really sensible about it because I know wrestling fans can get crazy emotional over the smallest things. And there's always like arguments and everything. But I try to be, really level-headed. That's my favorite buzzword, level-headed. And I try to approach everything with a very neutral mindset and just look at it for what it is. Sometimes I can be a little bit biased with things, but I always try to look at things very clean, very clear. And it's just fun. Like it's not for everyone, obviously, but like it's something that I love, and that's why I like the room so much, because a lot of the dudes in there are really chill to talk to. What about you guys? What rooms do you guys like other than THP?
You can go.
Well, it's for me it's probably Nederlands or the Dutch room. Mainly because of the fact it's the first room I started in. It's the first room I've ever entered, and the room I kind of grew up alongside with. It's a room that's always been there when shit was bad for me, or when there were just good times. So just went through a lot in the room, and that's why it's really close to my heart. So yeah, it's definitely the Dutch room.
Right on. What about you, Nico?
Right, cool. Well, I mean, for me, I think it's hard really because when I first came to PS, I didn't even know there were different rooms. I just hung out in lobby, and I thought that was a great place. I can just chat about whatever I wanted, and then I suddenly discovered THP, and I kind of got into it. I really loved it, and then we had a former staff, Dara, to the game corner room, and I really got into that room as well. Really loved that. But you had to really be into it, and because they're constantly playing games there, right? So you have to be really involved with it and always be in the room. And when I kind of got staff in THP, I had to be in both places, and it was really physically exhausting for me. So I kind of had to let go of Game Corner eventually. If Game Corner I only focused on Game Corner alone, I think it could have possibly been my favorite room. But I really love lobby. It's like, it is kind of a second home to THP. It's like where I can just chill out, and there's a lot of chat activity. And I really enjoy it there, despite the chaos. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I think with that being said, I think there were all the questions, actually.
I believe
all the
so.
The questions that we had to answer, really. And
good job, dude.
Well,
That was
I
awesome.
don't know if you guys... Yeah, it was awesome. I don't think we need to really discuss anything else.
No, I think we
We,
covered
uh,
pretty much everything. We talked about the room quite a lot. We answered your questions. I love answering questions
Yeah.
like that. That's so much fun for me. And
Yeah,
and just to hear what you guys think
It's
too.
always fun. It's always fun to see what people are wondering and really want to know. So yeah, I hope you guys kind of got your answers. Who knows? Maybe there will be another podcast in the future. But for now, I think we can just wrap it up. I'd like to thank you guys for being in the call with me, and I'd like to thank everybody that's listening for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Well, that's actually everything I'd say. So
Lemon is my favorite fruit.
it's actually a really important note to end on.
Yeah, I had that written down actually. I was like in my own personal notes, I was like, talk about lemons. So I just had to throw that line out there in a really awkward way too. Like I was like, how awkward can I say that line? Like I could just be stone faced like, lemon is my favorite fruit. Or I could just say it like it is there.
Did you have to throw that lime out there? Yeah.
Ooh, lime is up there. Lime is definitely up there. But lemon is the homie. It is the number one. The numero uno.
Do you have any closing notes, Nikolai?
I mean, I just hope that some of you might have got something out of this podcast. And I mean, I really appreciate the kind of community we are growing into now. And I feel like we are really heading in the right direction. We are really trying to be more open with all the users. And
I feel like we're becoming more of a family.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah.
Progressing really well. All right.
Yeah.
Right. This is the section where CC is going to rap for us, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Wrap it up.
Yeah, you know, or we can just talk forever and then. He did warn us. Nico did warn us that he might cough. So I guess there it is. Yeah. So I guess I'll wrap it up since I'm recording this. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. If you listened, I hope you just didn't skip to the end. But yeah, we'll see you hopefully next time. So catch you later.